Hello, welcome to the channel. Thank you very much for being here. I apologize for the late start for those of you watching live tonight. I'm 5 minutes late. I try really hard to be on time. I've been trying to multicast, cast over to Facebook at the same time that I'm doing YouTube, and it worked once and it hasn't worked since Monday. So it's been all week that I've been struggling with this. Maybe that is a sign that I should stop. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Thank you, all of you who have joined me and have stuck with me as I've started late. Guys, I'm excited to talk to you tonight because we are circling back around to the case of Madeline Soto. Now, Madeline Soto, what was it? February 26th of last year, Madeline Soto failed to show up for school. Her mom's on again, off again boyfriend, a man named Stephen Stearns, said that he dropped her off at school, but when her mother went to go pick her up at school, she was nowhere to be found. And that started a chain of events that ultimately led to charges for Mr. Stearns, about 60 charges relating to the abuse of Madeline over the course of many years, at least 5 years, and then ultimately to a charge in her murder. Her body was found on the 1st of March. What was that? 4 or 5 days later. And it has been a case that has captured the attention of the nation. Let's get Mr. Stearns off of there. I think probably because it's just such an egregious case and is something that offends all of us. That a little girl like this who was beloved at least by her grandfather. I know that. I can tell from the interviews that he deeply loved her. I don't know that Jen, I'm sure that she was loved in her way. Madeline had a lot of people that cared about her, but she also lived in maybe the strangest environment I've ever encountered in my true crime reporting career. So my plan for today is to take a little bit, well, first of all, I would really like your input tonight. Okay, we're gonna be talking a lot. One of the things that I was thinking about earlier today, I made a list. Give me a second. Made a list. There was a specific question that I wanted to ask you guys, and I got sidetracked by trying to figure out, my technological issues. But if you guys, here's the question: what do you think justice for Madeline looks like? I'd like to know your thoughts on this. If it were up to you, what does justice for her look like? We're going to talk about that quite a bit tonight. Couple things before we do, though. Let's see. First off, if you haven't yet, head over to my website, gavinfish.com. There is a case page. It has so much information on Madeline's case. I mean, it's just so much. So if you're new to the channel, gavinfish.com is always where you can get access to everything. Okay. And then the second thing that I want to do is I want to come over to this. This is the Osceola News Gazette. They wrote an article on December 31st. Basically, it is a year in review, right? And what they said about Maddie's case goes like this. When 13-year-old Madeline Soto was reported missing from Hunters Creek Middle School, we are going to listen to a recording of a Hunters Creek Middle School teacher that was taken on the 29th. Don't let me forget that. But anyway, when she was reported missing from the middle school on February 26th, that began a story that continues to play out in Osceola County. The Kissimmee teen's mother's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, 37, was arrested in connection with the case on February 28th on charges of, let's just say, SB on a person under age 12 and possession of CSAM materials, right? After investigators found thousands of images of CSAM on his Google device. What happened? He sits in jail, charged with 60 such counts. The Osceola County Sheriff's Office found Soto's body east of St. Cloud near Pearl Lake 4 days later, and became embroiled in a scandal after a member of Sheriff Lopez's social media team posted photos from the crime scene before deleting them about an hour later. The department called it an accident, but State Attorney Bain found Lopez liable of breaking state statute to which he paid a fine this month. I had almost forgotten about that. That was something to be outraged about for sure. But there's been so much in this case that I had almost forgotten that. It took the state attorney's office about 2 months to file murder charges against Stearns and another month to announce it will seek the death penalty. Arrested on February 28th, Stearns did not appear at any hearing or court appearance until briefly showing at an October 14th status hearing. The case against him, the how, when, and why of the case, became the talk of TV, court shows, and true crime platform posters across the country and world. While Stearns awaits trial in February for the CSAM charges and in September 2025 on the murder charges, Soto's mother, Jennifer, has not been charged and has slipped from the public eye after videos of her police interrogations during the investigation went public over the course of 2024. We, by the way, can thank several YouTubers for that, not the least of which would be Gazella over at Grizzly True Crime, Paula over at Plunder, The Docket. I did my own Sunshine Law requests. I know I'm going to miss people. Jay over at Guilty of Crime. A lot of people did a lot, and I mean, fair or not, there's just been a lot of coverage, and I think it's been good for the case. A memorial along Hickory Tree Road near where Soto's body was found sprang up, then went away at the request of the land's owner, then reappeared as a line of locks in between the private property and right of way. So, I mean, that's... Bring Maddie up again. Oh, man, I wasn't even showing you that. That was the rest of that article. Okay. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say that it has impacted the people in Osceola County, but a lot of us here on the internet have become just absolutely engrossed in the story that is the life, the short life of Madeline Soto. Remember my question earlier. Put GF in your comment so I can read it. What does justice for Madeline look like for you? Okay. Now, before we get to those, let us head on over here. I do want to thank Paula over at Plunder for first getting this, and then making it known that it was there. I was able to get my hands on it afterwards. I actually probably should start over here now that I think about it. This is a file that we've had since the beginning. It's published on the website since near the beginning. If we go down here, there we go. I highlighted it here. This is a report from Detective Francis Hunt of the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. That is his report of this recording that we're going to listen to now. The way that he, I guess, characterized the interview is basically he said that in the week prior to Madeline going missing, she appeared to be more easily agitated, retorting with a negative attitude when she had to be redirected. In the past, Madeline has expressed that she was upset and asked to be excused to see the school counselor. However, she never revealed what she was upset about. She did not describe, the teacher did not describe Madeline as sad or depressed, and stated she has never made any statements or expressed that she wants to hurt herself or anybody else. So that's the way that he characterized the interview. Now let's go ahead and have a listen. It's about a 12-minute interview, and we'll talk about it along the way and afterwards as well. Here we go.
Thursday, February 29th, 13:53 hours. It's Detective Francis Hunt for OCSO case 24-011313. Can you state your full name?
Linda Madeline Rasmussen.
How do you spell your last name?
Rasmussen.
And then what's your birthday, Linda?
4/17/1967.
What's a good phone number for you?
These are redactions from the file. I did not do this.
Do you mind if I get just a little bit closer to you? So that thank you. Cool. The phone sometimes doesn't pick everything up. Cool. So,
Alex, we'll talk about Jen at length tonight.
what's your role here?
7th grade. I also teach Eagle Express in the morning tutoring.
Okay. And for how long have you worked here?
This is my 8th year.
Wow. Were you a teacher before?
My 9th.
Okay. Sometimes it gets like that, right? How long have you been a teacher for?
My 8th, 9th year. I worked for OCPS now well over 15.
Okay.
I started out as a substitute teacher, then I became a physical education para.
Okay.
Left for a year and a half, worked as director over at the Chick-fil-A, then came back as teaching.
Oh, wow. You've
Yeah.
had a long and varied career. So in total, what, you said 15 years
Yeah.
here at OCPS about? Gotcha. All right. So you teach 7th grade regular. In any of your class periods, do you have a young lady by the name of?
Madeline.
Yes, she's in my 4th period.
Okay. She's 4.
Madeline Soto. Goodness.
Right after lunch.
Man, I'm sorry I did that. I read the name Stephen Stearns at the same time I was trying to say Madeline Soto, and it came out as Madeline Stearns. That is the worst. I want to throw up the thought of that. Madeline Soto.
Got it. And about what time is that?
On a regular day, it is 12:38 after the recharge till about 1:30.
Got it. So how is this your first year?
Yes.
Got it. So you've known her for what, 7-ish months now? Okay. And can you, as someone who's known her for about 7 months, can you tell me a little bit about her? Like, describe her to me.
She's very on and off, very quiet, very chatty with some of the girls. I mentioned to Miss McCottom the specific girls she chatted with. And of course, as a teacher, you separate them.
Yes.
And then they think you're picking on them, but kind of where she would zone out a lot.
Okay.
To where I'd have to redirect, hey, are you taking your notes? Do you need any help?
Gotcha. What's her behavior like?
This last week, prior to her, she was a bit flippant, a bit rolling the eyes.
Oh, okay.
And normally she's just really quiet, reserved, keeping to herself. But she seemed to get a little bit of an attitude. But not, she wouldn't disrespect me. Just, you get the students that roll their eyes and it's like, okay.
Okay.
You're not liking me moving you here, that's okay, I get that.
Was there anything in particular that was like, I guess, agitating her that you can remember?
She didn't seem agitated unless you spoke to her directly, or if I reminded her you need to be taking your notes, or stuff like that. But
So
no.
normal stuff, it's
Yeah.
just this last week she's been responding
Correct.
just different, with more attitude. Is that, I guess it's not common of her from the way you're describing.
No, she's normally quiet. Like I said, she's normally quiet. She zones out to where you're having to redirect her.
But she's normally like more receptive to
Yeah.
just direction or redirection, rather. Okay.
I even made a comment to Miss Rivera, and Miss Rivera would look, we're going, yeah, Because I have Ms. Rivera, she's
Yeah.
the co-teacher for the ESC students in that class.
Okay, so she is in a special education program, correct?
They're integrated with
Okay.
the regular classroom, so yeah, we have like split classes to where half the students are ESC, the other half are just regular students.
Okay. Is she diagnosed with like a learning disability, or does she have trouble, I guess?
She does have a what is it called, an IEP, I think.
Gotcha. And is that just for, is her mental capacity that out normal, or is that just more a learning?
No, I've noticed, aside from her being quiet or zoning out and stuff like that, no.
Okay. She's just typical. Gotcha. Okay. I guess, is there anything that you have noticed in the past few weeks or months that would have led to a change in her behavior this past week that you can think of?
I've been racking my brain on that, thinking,
I bet
no.
Well, that's fine if not.
everybody.
Aside from this past week, I mean, to where she was more attitude, I guess,
Yeah.
but no. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, was she quiet because something was happening, or, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the reason that we wanted to come out and talk, is just because you all have seen her more than we have. You know more about her than we do.
But she interacts with other students. Like I said, the girls go together and do their little talks and whatnot.
Have you ever seen her act in a way that you would describe as, I guess I know she's normally quiet, but would you describe that as like sad or depressed or anxious, or is there any negative emotion that you would associate with the way she acts?
On a couple of occasions, she would request to go to the counselor.
Okay.
She was sad.
Gotcha. How often was that?
Not a huge amount of times. I mean, maybe in the time that I've had her, 3-4 times, to where
Okay.
if I would redirect or whatnot, she would shut down and get upset. And I would ask her, do you need to go see the counselor? And she said yes.
Did she ever say like what she was upset about at that point in time, or?
No,
Okay.
nothing.
Okay. So as far as your observations of her daily behavior, if I'm understanding you right, it doesn't sound as though you would describe anything that she did as particularly sad or depressed, other than the times that she said she was upset and she wanted to go see the counselor. And when she did, she didn't necessarily give a reason. It was just not feeling great. But that was less than 5 times in
Yeah,
the
I would
past
say
7
that.
months. Okay.
And I don't think it was in the recent, I'm trying to think. I think that was prior to the holiday break.
So
Was the
not
last
even
time, yeah.
all that
Not even
recently.
recent.
How are her grades in your class?
Currently, she's failing.
Okay.
She's not turning in work.
Okay.
Even classwork that she does in class, she doesn't turn it in. And it's typical for a lot of the students, like, hey, you got to turn in your work. Okay, we've got 2 weeks left in the quarter, and then they start pushing them in. But, you know.
Has she always been that way since starting your class, or is that more of a recent shift?
More of a, she's doing it more than what she used to do it.
Okay. And has that been like a gradually progressive, she's turning in
Getting
less
it
and
worse,
less
yeah.
and less? Or has there been like a definitive shift of, she
Turning
was
it
doing
in.
okay and then all of a sudden she wasn't?
She's been like borderline to where I'm not sure if it's because of the IP or not, but if I give her a test, I'd have to redirect her. You need to focus on your test. It takes a lot
Got it.
longer than
Yeah.
typical
Okay.
7th grade student to do that. But
Got it.
yeah, recently she's not been turning in anything.
And has she ever expressed wanting to hurt anyone else or hurt herself? Or I know you would have reported it,
Yeah.
if she had said something, but has she ever said anything that indicated to you that that's something she thinks about? Harming anyone else or harming herself?
Oh, no.
Okay.
She's never verbally said anything.
And does she argue with the other students at all?
No.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty easygoing kid.
Yeah.
For the most part, to be honest. Let's see what else I got here. I guess in the times that you have had her, have you ever seen anything that's made you concerned for anything happening at home with either anyone else?
No, nothing aside from, just a quiet student.
Okay. But she's never talked about home life being uncomfortable or
Not to me.
expressed or acted in any way that would indicate to you she was being abused or harmed. Have you ever had any
I'm trying to think. Maybe at one of the IEP meetings. I've had so many of them, so.
Yeah, I bet.
Not through talking points. I know they can to do makeup tests, makeup work, or whatnot.
Sure.
So yeah, that's
Okay.
about it. Nothing one-on-one.
It doesn't sound like anything stands out as far as conversations
No,
with
it's
mom.
just typical conversations with parents.
Gotcha.
Love the app Talking Point. It goes straight to it.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
oh yeah. Well, I'm sure before
Yeah.
Talking Point,
But
you
aside-
remember PTA meetings
Oh
and
yeah,
all sorts of
and
stuff.
not only that, just emails, like respond to the email. But
Cool.
no, just back and forth. Hey, they're missing this. It's coming to the end of the quarter. Other than that, nothing.
Okay.
She did text or send a Talking Point message Monday evening saying, was she in class today? Responded, no, she was not.
Okay. Before you go today, would you be able to print out any messages that if you're able to, and then give them to,
I can do that.
and then give them to me before I go?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Seems like an easygoing guy, right? Nice guy to talk to.
Sorry, I was in a PLC meeting. That's why my computer.
It's okay. I'm sorry to interrupt your day like
No,
this.
it's
I know
okay.
you're
No,
doing
I
a lot.
just- It's heart-wrenching.
Is there anything else important that, as someone who's known her for several months, you think that will help me or help us?
The only thing I have are our math books
Okay.
that she takes her notes in. That's about it.
Okay. Would you mind giving those to
I could give them the.
and so that way I can take a look through them?
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I don't have any other questions for you. Do you have any for me while we're okay? I'm going to go ahead and end this. 14:05 hours.
That's the end of the recording. Yeah, I haven't seen any reports that indicate that he found anything in those math books at all. And the live chat has been going pretty steadily. Thanks, guys. And I've skipped over a couple of them, but I'm going to come back to them now. Let's bring little Miss Maddie up onto the page again. My question was, what does justice for Maddie look like to you? And Kelly says life. I think that means life in prison for Mr. Stearns. That's my guess. What you mean there? Becca says life in prison. Just curious, does life mean life in the U.S.? Here in England, life in prison before being eligible for release depends on the seriousness of the crime. It rarely means life. Becca, it really depends on the state. The United States is actually kind of a funny place. You kind of have to think of each state as a tiny little sovereign, and they're actually not that tiny. Most states are way bigger than like England, but each one is its own thing, and Madeline's case is a state case. Now, one of the things that has happened in the state of Florida, first of all, Florida would be considered right now, and has been probably for the last 20, 25 years, a very conservative state. We refer to them as red states. And that typically means that death penalty is on the table, that they do carry out executions. It typically means that, and I'm speaking in broad generalities, this isn't true for everything, but it also typically means that punishments are a little more harsh. I would have to take a look at the statutes in Florida, but I believe life, there are differences in different places. There's life in prison, then there's life in prison without the possibility of parole. If life in prison without the possibility of parole happens, it is life. They will die in prison. Sometimes life in prison will be 20 to 30 years, and that will depend. That range depends on the seriousness of the crime, and then it depends on their behavior in prison, but it typically means that they would have to serve 85 to 90% of that time. But I don't know specifically in Florida. It's different in each state. And I know, like, for example, in Brazil, because I did a video about this, about Pedrinho Matador. In Brazil, you can't spend more than 30 years in prison, period. Doesn't matter how bad you are. Guy was a serial killer and got out of prison. But anyway, yeah, it's very different in different places. All right, great question. Robin Bernard says, Gavin, best punishment I can think of is life in prison, always in Gen Pop, and a big burly cellmate that's super lonely. Yeah, what you're talking about there is Schadenfreude, right? The whole idea that a person should get what's coming to them, and I guess the personal satisfaction that we take when somebody gets what they're given. Robin, respectfully, I don't like that last part. I don't think that there needs to be basically essay of Stephen Stearns in prison. I know that it happens. Prison justice happens. I just don't like it. And I was having this conversation with my brother and sister when we were in California for Christmas, visiting my folks, and there is a personal family friend. How do I describe that? A long-term friend of the family, close friends with my father, who perpetrated some seriously ugly crimes. When he was caught, he did not fight prosecution. He said that he did it, and he would take the punishment. He was later sentenced as an older man. He was in his 70s to a certain amount of time. He was assigned to San Quentin, and in San Quentin he took his own life. I'm actually pretty sad about that. Notwithstanding the fact that he did horrible things. I would have much preferred that he spend the rest of his natural life there. But anyway, that's just me, right? It's just me. We all can have our own opinions, and I've specifically asked for yours. And thank you for sharing that, Robin. Wild and Free Neurodiversity says, Gavin, justice for Maddie seems so far out of reach, but both Stefan and Jen in prison. More importantly, programs in schools to inform them. I feel like that might have gotten cut off. I too, there's a question about what I think about Jen. And if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you know exactly how I feel about her. I'm not sure what you're talking about for, more importantly, programs in schools to inform them. I mean, perhaps you're talking about, I think many of us, I think maybe even most of us, cannot even imagine what happens on the daily in some households here in the United States and around the world. What was happening to Madeline Soto is not something that would ever occur to me. It's outside of my imagination. And I think it's healthy that it is, right? It's like, whoa. And I got a tip from a viewer last time I talked about this case that sent me over to a podcast, and I can't remember what it was, the name of the podcast. It's popular, way more popular than I am. And the guest talked about doing this kind of white hat, gray hat kind of hacking, and he hacked into a website, like a forum on the internet, that people who suffer from this particular bent, I don't want to say the word because I want the video to get to more people, but and he couldn't believe the kinds of things that he learned, and he shared those things, the kinds of things that people want, men like Stephen Stearns, the kinds of things that he wants, and then the women who love people like Stephen Stearns being willing to do things with their own children, which is something that I have suspected about Jennifer Soto. Was she, and I know you guys don't like this word, but it's a better descriptor than I can come up with otherwise. Was Jennifer Soto pimping out her daughter to her boyfriend? And I think it's possible. I think it's, yeah. Let's bring Maddie back up. Look at this adorable child. All right. Tony says, hey, Gavin, I know you don't approve of prison justice, but I can think of no one more deserving. And Jennifer Soto in prison for collusion neglect resulting in Madeline Soto's death. Yeah, they might be deserving of it. I just, and thanks for being respectful, Tony. I just don't think that we as a society should be encouraging that. I think it's unhealthy for us. Keep going. Tiff. Gavin. Justice is that sick SOB never seeing outside of a jail cell again and finding out what Jen knew. She knew something and she needs to be held accountable. She sent her daughter upstairs. She's not innocent. I agree. Thank you. Thank you for that comment, Tiff. New England Coast says, I look distinguished in black. Let me see. This is my winter uniform. I always have like a little fleece. Yeah. Guys, you should have read the comments over in Surviving the Survivor. I swear, man, it was embarrassing. But thank you for saying that. I guess there are just a lot of people out there that like middle-aged, fat, hairy guys. But thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. Horror Queen 1988. Gavin, I'm fashionably late, but glad to see what you have to say about the case. I'm curious, though, do you think Jen has anything to do with the essay? I suspect that it does. And I suspect even more strongly now that I watched that, I listened to that podcast. I could not believe the kinds of things that I heard on that podcast. And I'll have to look up that link, but at the same time, man, I don't want people to start to imagining those things, or have to imagine those things. But yeah, I can't imagine a reason. I mean, what is a good reason to send your daughter up to your ex-boyfriend's room? What's the reason? Because you need better sleep? Well, there are two other places within visual distance of your room where Madeline could sleep. She could sleep on the couch. She could sleep on her own bed. And you're taking... when I say that, I'm talking about Ms. Soto here. She was taking like drugs that made her go to sleep. Who cares if your daughter is in the same bed as you? Sending her up to her ex-boyfriend's room is a giant, like, Texas-sized red flag waving in the solar breeze, man. It is just, I cannot get over that. That's like on the Ellen Greenberg case. You guys know the Ellen Greenberg case, right? I've got this new system where I can bring up photos from other cases. On the Ellen Greenberg case, I'm always asked, well, is it possible that this happened or that happened? Is it possible? What do you think the possibility that she did do it to herself? And I always come back to the woman was stabbed in the back of her head and neck 10 times. I always come back to that. And with Maddie, it's the same thing. I always come back to her mother sent her up into the bed of her ex-boyfriend. I cannot ignore that. It's just too much. It's too much to ignore, right? You can't ignore that. Oh, Alice Martin. Let me come back to Alice. Robin says, Gavin, I pray that Maddie's case maybe causes us all to raise our awareness of CSAM. Yeah. I mean, again, I think for most of us, we're just like, what? It's just something that we can't imagine, right? To teach us to have the courage to speak up if we suspect anything. Let her life and death save other children from a similar fate. And that is the tragic and scary thing, is that Madeline is the one we know about, right? On, what was that? Was that Wednesday? I was on Surviving the Survivor, and one of the other people on the panel was this guy, a guy named Ned Pillersdorf. And he is the attorney of Sabrina Adkins and the late Jennifer Hill, who are suing several people in Letcher County, Kentucky over sexual extortion, right? And Mr. Pillersdorf repeatedly said, my agenda is this. If we know about 3 women, and we know about 3 women because there was another woman on the indictment, my clients plus the other woman, then there are more, right? And I mean, that's exactly what's happening here in my mind with little Miss Maddie, right? It's like, she's the one we know about. If there is one, there are many. And I agree with you, Robin. We need to have our suspicions. I don't want to walk around being suspicious and paranoid all the time, but maybe just be our awareness needs to be there. Today I wrote an article for the publication I work for in my day job about a bust that happened in Venango County, Pennsylvania, where 6 people were arrested on drug possession charges. And one of the things that was in the complaint was these drugs and the paraphernalia were within the reach of toddlers, right? And sometimes we think that doing drugs is a victimless crime because they're choosing to do it to themselves. I'm not making that argument, by the way. My argument is last year there was a child that died in Clarion County, Pennsylvania. That it was something that I covered, where the child had gotten their hands on mom's and grandpa's drugs. So yeah, we need to be aware of what's going on, and we need to not be afraid to say something about it. Thanks, Robin. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down. Wow, there's a lot that has come in. Let me go back up to Alice. Alice says, Gavin, the case is next month. Okay. Alice? Yes. Sort of. Okay, sort of. Come with me over to the website, over to my internet browser, and I want to show you, these are the 2 cases against Stephen Stearns. I should have brought this one up first. Let's bring up this one. By the way, a link to the, Osceola Clerk's office, which is what this website is always in the description of Madeline Soto cases, so you can look this up yourself. But so there are 2 cases against Mr. Stearns. The first one, the one that we're looking at, are the 60 counts of SB and CSAM stuff, right? And we have a pretrial hearing that is scheduled just over a month away, right? And then a jury trial on 2/24. Now, what I would point out is that in all of my time covering cases, I have never once seen a trial happen on its first scheduled time. It doesn't happen. And one of the reasons it doesn't happen is they waive their right to a speedy trial. And I believe that is down here. Let me see if I can find this. Waived the right to a speedy trial. Yeah, he has waived that right here. So, and I think that like the doc is down here, right? His waiver of the speedy trial was in April. Stephen Stearns does not want a speedy trial. His lawyers do not want a speedy trial. They want as much time as they can to prepare for the case. So, will it happen in February? I think it's about a 1 in a million chance that it will. And I don't want you guys to be upset when it turns out to not happen in February. Now, the other case, bringing back over to Ye Old website, the other case right here, this is the murder case. The pre-trial is scheduled for the 10th of September, and the trial is scheduled for the 22nd of September. I would say that the chances of that happening are very low. He has not waived his right to a speedy trial in this one, by the way. That has not happened up here, okay? But I think by the time we get close to September, that waiver will be signed. And I was talking to a couple of friends. I was talking to some lawyer friends, and they agreed with me that it's probably 2 or 3 years out before we ever see a trial. I don't think that Stephen Stearns would ever want to see a trial, but the attorney friends of mine are like, oh, he wants a trial. There's no downside. And that's something that I have expressed before, but I've kind of waffled on back and forth. All right. Great comment. Great comment, Alice. Thank you for that. Let's keep on scrolling down. JC says it's so rough hearing the teacher describe this precious girl and not be emotionally involved. Let the tears fall. Yeah. Autumn says in PA, I believe it's considered 23 years. 25 says Twisted Taurus or Taurus, depending on where you're from. Hey, how many of you have taken me up on my suggestion to read The Mother Tongue by Bill Bryson? Curious. Kelly says Gavin Stephen Stearns should never walk the streets again. Jennifer Soto should also be punished. Yeah, Becca, thanks for explaining. I did my best, Becca. Lee says in Florida, life is life. Okay. Jessam says Canada for first degree parole eligibility begins at 25 years. Wow. Jana Lee, again, Florida, life is life. And I'd kind of expect that because, again, it's a red state. By the way, I try to live by the whole Dolly Parton principle when it comes to politics on YouTube. Dolly Parton, of course, is famous for saying that both Democrats and Republicans buy music. So she stays agnostic publicly. I try to do that too. I hope that you guys, my description of Florida was fair. I hope so. I try to. Wild and Free Neurodiversity says, Gavin, if Jen was innocent, surely she would be outraged and advocating for awareness of abuse. That would seem to be a logical thing to expect, unless, of course, she herself has some kind of neurodivergence, which I suspect that she does. All right. Robin, thank you for the clarity and grades. Yeah, my pleasure. Sandra, Gavin, many failures in this tragedy. See something, say something. I bet there are so many who are heartsick they didn't speak up. I think you're right. Teachers should definitely know how to watch for the signs, says Lisa, MBA Creative Design. Asking for the counselor so much, grades decreasing are a very visible sign of something that needs to be looked into. Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. However, if you are a teacher and you're in a middle school and you're teaching, what do you think? 200 kids, something like that, and there's a professional counselor on staff, you might be somebody who would say, well, the counselor will handle this because that is the counselor's training. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to think. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to think either. I'm just saying that that might be a way that you would go. I can't tell you how many school board meetings I've been in where the school board, which sometimes have teachers on them, many times have teachers on them, they'll say stuff like, I don't think we should make a decision on this. We should let the professionals, the school principal or the district superintendent or whomever, make the decision. And it is human nature to just kind of pass the buck that way. But yeah, I don't think you're wrong, Lisa. I'm just trying to come up with some kind of devil's advocate something. Could it be the Sean Atwood, Ron Swanson podcast? I don't think so. Does Ron Swanson have a podcast? Is it all about woodworking and being in nature and hoarding gold? Is that what it's about? No, I don't think it was that one. I don't even want to share it. I mean, some of the things that I learned there, I will never forget. Gavin, do you believe in the saying, we are not the sum of the worst things we've done? And how do you think it fits with Stearns? Holy cow. Good Jane 54. That is a question, man. Do you believe in the saying, we're not the sum of the worst things we've done? Well, we certainly are not the sum of our experiences, right? Those are things that contribute to who we are, but they're not the totality of who we are. Trying to think. See, one of the hardest things to do, at least for me, and again, hearkening back to the conversation I had with my brother and sister, one of the hardest things that I have to contend with in true crime is understanding that there is value to human life. There is, there's like a baseline value of being human. One of the evidences of this is that when there are people that do egregious things, the first thing that we tend to call them or think about them in our own minds and hearts is think is that they are a monster. We try to dehumanize them in order to remove that value. And I mean, so when I think of a person like Stephen Stearns, he has done some horrible things, some egregious things. And I have called him a monster. I have said his parents were Frankenstein. I took it back, but I said, I mean, let's not forget that I said it, that his parents were Frankenstein and he was the monster that they unleashed. But that does dehumanize him. There is value in him. It's something that I had to come to grips with in the Amanda Winkowski case, where I'm really suspicious that Antoine Garner murdered Amanda Winkowski. And when I started reaching out to talk to him, I had to have these conversations with myself that, no, this is a human being here. So I don't know if that answered your question. How does it fit with Stearns? No, he's more than what he's done. He is of no value to society. He is definitely a danger to society. He definitely, if he did these things, which I believe he did, he definitely should never see the outside of a prison. But I don't think that he should be the recipient of any kind of prison justice or anything like that. I don't know if I've answered your question. But let's get his face off of here so we don't have to look at it so much and bring up Miss Maddie. Sherry says, Gavin, nobody wants to think that there are evil people in this world and then things like this happen. It's a shock to us. Yeah. Yep. Jenny Meow Meow says, Gavin, it's the beard. I do have a long beard. I am trying to, for the first time in my life, grow my hair out, get it past the stage. Like, this is the stage where I always cut my hair, where it's like just long enough to be annoying, not long enough to be good looking. Same thing with the beard. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, everyone wanted to date you and loved your voice. Yeah, that was uncomfortable, but I appreciate it. Like, Kathleen says, Gavin, I've changed my mind. I'm now thinking Jen did this and Stefan took her and lay her where he did because Jen told him to. When you watch the two of them after Jen looks scared. I don't know. I think they were both involved. I do. I kind of feel like, do you guys remember when I had Beth Meeks on? Do I have a picture of Beth? I don't. I should have. But Beth talked about what predators do when they're looking for their prey. They're also looking at the gateway to that prey, the gatekeeper of that prey. And so I think Jen, she was involved in this, but I also think that she was probably pretty easily manipulated. Zach, there are a lot of ladies out there who like a distinguished, successful man. I think I'm neither distinguished nor successful. But eye of the beholder. Eye of the beholder. Thanks, guys. You guys are really puffing me up. Okay, Gavin, please tell us what podcast is it? I have to think. I don't want to be the gatekeeper of this information. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it real quick. You guys take a look at cute little Maddie while I'm doing this search. I'll go to my history. Yeah, okay. So I need to mute this tab. Okay. Coming over to the website. It was this right here. Ryan Montgomery, #1 ethical hacker who hunts child predators, catches one live on podcast. So that is the one. And now you guys also know that I love watching Billy Joel, Nate Bargatze, and people building old chateaus. So that's what YouTube always shows me. That is the one. So it's the Sean Ryan Show. And it is Sean Ryan Show number 56. It's disturbing. So be warned. Okay? Let's bring back Miss Maddie. All right. Let's see. I'm not sure that I understand. Is consoling Stearns and looks lost like he has lost his best friend. I guess I don't follow. I might be lost here. Becca, Gavin, trouble with children being abused is a lot of the time they don't know that they're victims of abuse themselves. I didn't fully understand it until I was in my teens. Yeah. Maddie could have thought that she was in a loving relationship, and that's just the way it was. That's possible. It's likely, I think. In my mind, it's likely. Teresa, yes. So it is the Sean Ryan Show number 56. Okay. Yep. You guys are all asking. I shouldn't have withheld it. Mooney, Gavin, and then she denied recognizing Stefan Stearns' privates and her own daughter. Yeah. Yeah. Jen Soto, I really don't believe her. I think that she was involved for sure. Uh, let's see. Let's keep going. Darlene, did you hear the part of the Woody Allen line that was redacted from us? She said she was afraid. Yeah, I do remember that. And I think that is an indication that she was part of it. Linnea Peel says, it does not matter if Jen knew anything or not. She should be held accountable for something. I think she went to a mental facility just to play it because I think she knew. I had, you guys, I've brought this up before, but so many of you are new. If you go to my website and go over to the blog, I've written a couple things that might be interesting to you. This one is the one that I'm thinking of right now. It's titled, "Is Jennifer Soto Really Off the Hook? Look at Derivative Use Immunity," and it goes through some of the things that you're saying, right? The other thing that I would point you to is if we go back over to Maddie's page, and there is, yeah, broken hyoid bone. By the way, I'm sorry, this is a tangent. Duh. I totally forgot that was the case, and we had Brian Bennett on to talk about it and everything. But there was after the immunity deal, I did, this one, Jennifer Soto's interview. We talk a lot about, well, there's a lot in this one. And then there's one that I did that was about, man, I can't remember which one it was, but what are some of the charges that she might be facing? So, I mean, it's a big library of videos for those of you who are new here, but feel free to go watch some of those if you're into it. Couple more before we go. Oh my goodness, no, a lot more before we go. Do I think Stearns will turn on Jen? Yeah, I think he'll talk to I think he'll listen to his mom. Oh, probably. Jenny Meow Meow, I already read The Mother Tongue. Now you need to do a dive into my two favorites, A Sunburnt Country and A Short History of Nearly Everything. A Short History of Nearly Everything is one of my favorite books. I love it. Isn't it A Brief History of Nearly Everything? Either way, great book. Great book. Autumn says, I was wrong in PA. Life is life. That's good because I was in a sentencing hearing earlier this week, and man was sentenced to life in prison. I'm glad to know that he won't be out. Let's see if there are a couple more things. One answer to Good Jane 54's deep question is that as a society, we seek to punish the crime more than the criminal. I'll have to think about that one, Zach. Yeah, that was a really good question, Jane. I loved it. Obviously, Jen nor anyone helped Maddie with her schoolwork. That really upsets me, her failing grades. So just speaking from personal experience, one of our children, maybe the brightest, we have bright children, but maybe the brightest. When she was coming up on graduation, she was like 4 days from graduation, and she was on a trip in New York. She was performing at Carnegie Hall with her choir group, and I got a call from her calculus teacher saying that she was concerned that she wasn't going to graduate because she hadn't turned in any work. And what had happened with our daughter is just COVID just kind of turned her on her ear. She was a little anxious. She wasn't really prepared for something because 2 years of her education were kind of taken away from her. Anyway, it just turned out that she just wasn't turning in her homework because she was worried about things, and we weren't detecting it. And maybe we should have been more closely involved, but she had always been such a stellar student, one that didn't require anything. And it was a complete shock like less than a week before graduation that she might not graduate. And you know what happened? She comes home from her trip. We tell her what's going on. She's like, okay, I got it. And then the next day turned in everything. Just, kids are weird. And I've told you that kids are weird in the best way, by the way. But I think I've told you guys when I was in 7th grade, I lost my backpack and it made me physically ill. And there was nothing my parents could do to get me to tell them what had happened. Like they just couldn't do it. I was so ashamed. Yeah, there was nothing they could do. I missed a month of school. And ultimately, knock came on the door one day, and it was, friends of ours said, hey, I hadn't seen Gavin at school. I wanted to return his backpack. He left it on the bus, and I picked it up. So, yeah, kids are hard, man. Demon Hugger. I might not be saying it correctly. It might be like Demon Hugger or something like that. But I love your handle so much. I'm not into the occult or anything, but as you guys know, there's an entrance to Payman's underground lair, and Payman, god of the underworld, in Roseville, California, and I went there and hung out with Payman just during the Christmas season. Okay. Alice says, Gavin, it should happen next month. Get their case all together. They had a year to get all the information together. Yeah. I mean, whether it should or not, it won't. And you continue to ask, how long do they need? Think about it. This is a huge case, right? Think about other huge cases. Just, I don't know, think in your mind about cases that are really, really big and ask yourself how long those took. It's like a 3-year process. And even in cases that aren't big, as part of my day job, I cover crime in Western Pennsylvania. I find myself sitting in the gallery of courtrooms all across Western Pennsylvania. And sure enough, when I go for a jury selection or day one of a murder trial, you can bet that it took 2 years to get there. I was shocked. There was one this year that only took a year. But there's one right now that I'm waiting for in Crawford County, Pennsylvania. This is the case of Rebecca Byler. I don't think that I have. Well, Rebecca was Amish. I don't have a picture of her. But, the case is on the docket for March. It won't go in March. There's no chance. There's just no chance. So it just depends on how many motions are made and how long the court needs to decide those motions. It takes justice. The wheels of justice grind slowly. Women's Warrior. Gavin, there could still be value in Stephen Stearns. He could use his knowledge to save, protect, and prosecute others, so even may have knowledge of a bigger enterprise he could stop. Yeah. I wonder if people that have that mental disorder, let's just, I'm not diagnosing him with anything, but let's just say his condition is a mental disorder, right? I wonder if they are able to I wonder if he would be disinclined to help authorities catch others because he might justify to himself that no, this is my nature, this is who I am, it's perfectly natural. I wonder about that. I don't know. I like to play devil's advocate in a lot of this stuff. Let's keep going here. Justice for Maddie, says Clinton Nix, would be the DP for Stephen Stearns. What he did to her is so horrific. It's infuriating and heartbreaking. Yeah, by the way, just in the state of Florida, the first case, the SA case, That is the death penalty case. The state of Florida is the first state in the union that I know of. I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, that has created a law that is likely to be struck down at the Supreme Court, but their law is, under certain conditions, SA is an offense punishable by the death penalty. It's crazy. I mean, crazy as in, like, I don't know if it's crazy or not. It's just crazy that a state has gone that far. It's crazy. Let's see. Couple more here. Oh yeah, wild and free. Gavin, if she, meaning Jen, didn't know anything, that in itself is a crime, I think. That's one of the things that I said in my video. Cooler by the Lake. Gavin, found you through Surviving the Survivor. Yeah, I love Joel and Karn. Do you think this will go to trial or Stearns will take a plea? Yeah, I think he'll take one of them to a trial. I think he'll take the murder one to a trial. Robin, merch ID, something that says professional quibbler. Yeah, that is one that I use as well. I'm a professional quibbler. Yeah. Oh, Tennessee has DP for child SA. Okay. Yeah, so it's not just Florida. Guys, great conversation tonight. Thank you for joining me on that. Next week, I'm going to be welcoming Ned Pillersdorf to the channel. Ned Pillersdorf, of course, is hitting the wrong one here. Is the attorney that is representing Sabrina Adkins and the late Jennifer Hill, so the estate of Jennifer Hill, in a federal civil lawsuit against former Letcher County Sheriff's deputy and current registered sex offender Ben Fields. Sheriff Mickey Stearns, who is on trial for the murder of Judge Kevin Mullins. It is the craziest case ever, and the lawyer whose case maybe is the straw that broke the camel's back will be joining me next week. I believe it'll be Monday. It might be Tuesday. I'm trying to nail that down, but he has agreed to come on the show. So if you are interested in the Judge Kevin Mullins case, please come back for that. Okay. Look down to the bottom of your screen. You will see the fish tank. Let me bring you over to my website once again. If you click on this little fishy up there, that will take you to the fish tank. We're over 3,300 people that hang out on Facebook and talk about true crime. Please join us over there. Also, while you're on the website, head on over to CrimeCod. CrimeCod is my true crime website. That's a little bit of a pun. A little bit. You guys got it. I didn't need to explain that. But anyway, where we publish true crime content on the daily. And my buddy Jake Deemer is my main writer over there. By the way, if any of you have ambitions to write true crime stuff and want to be taught the way to do it as a journalist, reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. It would be a volunteer thing. That's what Jake does. Volunteer thing. But reach out to me. Just go over to my website and click on this little thing that will take you up to a contact me form, and one of my team will reach back out to you. If you're on CrimeCod, head on over there and subscribe to the newsletter. Okay? Those are my shameless plugs. I do it all the time. I'm a shameless plugger. I mean, I'm all over social media. I'm asking you to subscribe. There's so much things that I'm shamelessly doing. I'm also asking you guys, if you have merch ideas, I think it's probably time to do merch. I love the professional quibbler thing. I love the dill hole thing. I love Gavin needs a nap thing. I love, Uncle Gavin. Hey kids, it's Uncle Gavin. I like that sort of stuff. Send your ideas in. Just contact me over on the old website, and I will have one of my team reach out to you. Okay, guys? So I do this Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Please come back next week. We will at least have Ned Pillersdorf on. With that, I hope you enjoy your weekend, guys. Enjoy your weekend. And I will be back Monday at 7:30. Until then, bid you adieu. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.